there is a very real possibility that Warzone can die. Today has been arguably one of the craziest days when it comes to leaks/news. Call of Duty just made this tweet and they said Season 3 is a big moment for Call of Duty Warzone and Black Ops 6, and we're taking the time to deliver a great experience starting on April 3rd. More to come following Call of Duty Warzone's 5th anniversary next week. First and foremost, the way they describe the first paragraph, it feels like they've sort of delayed Verdansk. If you guys have watched any of my recent videos, you guys probably would have known that Verdansk drops March 20th. Or at least it's rumored to drop then. We had a bunch of different tweets coming out from Ghost of Hope and a bunch of other people saying that this was almost guaranteed March 20th is the drop date. Not to mention that in Warzone, it said that the Season 2 end date was March 19th, which led us to believe that Verdansk was actually going to come out on March 20th, a day later. But as you can see from this tweet and the way that they worded it, it seems like they're going to take a little bit extra time to launch Verdansk. Some people think that delaying this is a horrible idea, and I get it. We're all excited for Verdansk. Others think that this is the right choice only because this is probably means that they're focusing on bug fixes and taking their time on releasing Verdansk, because we all know that they have to release Verdansk perfect. Because if not, people will not come back and people will not stay and play this game. J God responded to this tweet and said, good. People ask them to delay if it's not ready, and when they do, people ask why. Swag said, figured they delayed Verdansk, been zero promo for it. Which I completely agree. Even when the whole March 20th rumors came out, I personally thought that this might not be the case only due to the fact that we haven't had any promo for the game at all. YouTuber Tactical Brit said, the reality of the Verdansk delay means I think they are probably preparing for a car crash release. We have heard through the rumor mill that this was a last-minute pivot away from Avalon. I honestly think even when it drops on April 3rd, it is going to be a buggy mess. He then went on to say the last time Call of Duty delayed a map was Caldera, and we all remember how much of a disaster release that was in terms of stability and bugs. I want to be optimistic, but quite frankly, I'm just preparing for the worst. There is something about this Call of Duty engine that seems incapable of producing a stable pipeline for the devs. I can see where he's coming from. We've had pretty rocky releases, and every single season update, there's always some type of bug. Now, is that the Warzone 2 engine's fault, or is that something else deep down in the dev studio that they need to get a hold of? Streamer Bredman said, this could be a wild take, but I'd much rather them delay Verdansk approximately 10 days than have it come out mad buggy. Z-Laner also said, glad they're taking extra time on this. I'm itching for Verdansk, but I'd always rather they push an update back to make sure it's polished rather than rush it out. As you can see, there's a little bit of mixed emotions, but for the most part, everybody tends to agree with this decision. Yes, there are a lot of people that are really sad, including myself, that Verdansk is going to take an extra 2 to 3 weeks to get everything right. But I personally think it's the right choice. So Activision needs to do everything they can to try and make this release as good as possible. I hope that this 2-week delay is for a couple things. One, first and foremost, I hope it's to fix all the bugs that are probably still in the game right now. As we've seen, every time any type of update comes out, there's always an insane amount of bugs. So if they need an extra 2 weeks to fix that, I hope that's the reason for it. 2, server stability. Right now, in the current Warzone, a lot of people say that they get packet loss and that the servers feel wonky. Now, if the rumors are true and we're actually going to get 150 players back, then they definitely have to take their time to make sure that the servers are able to handle everything. So yes, I am sad, and yes, I want Verdansk now. Because I'm telling you, if I have to play Extend for another day, I'm going to lose it. But I do think they made the right choice. Now, immediately after this tweet, there was an absolute bombshell dropped on the TL by the Ghost of Hope. Take this with a grain of salt because this actually sounds insane, but here is what he said. He tweeted out, exclusive details for Modern Warfare 4 2026. No old gen support. Traditional UI like the older games, more traditional than Black Ops 6. Engine being overhauled to address Modern Warfare 2 problems like visual clutter. Being developed on dev kits for the next Xbox. And this last one is pretty damn crazy. No Warzone 3 if Verdansk fails to retain current/returning players. Immediately after this, Charlie Intel tweeted on this. And like I always tell you guys, if Charlie Intel tweets out about it, there's gotta be some type of truth to it. For those that don't understand why this is such a big deal, it's because right now there's a lot of reasons why Call of Duty and Warzone and even other games aren't able to really push the limits. And that's due to them trying to make it PS4 and OG Xbox compatible. An example of this is there's a rumor that Warzone is not able to have multiple big maps because they're catering to PS4 users. And that's too much for that console to handle, not only on the storage side of things, but the actual console itself. Now with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, they're claiming to not be supporting the OG consoles, which then means that Infinity Ward is able to do whatever they want without limitations. which hopefully is a good thing. Thank God they're going away from this Hulu UI system, because as we saw in Warzone 2, that was horrible. Never bring it back. They said the engine is being overhauled to address Modern Warfare 2 problems like visual clutter. I don't know exactly what this means, but I will say the current Modern Warfare 2 engine is not the greatest. And if there's any type of improvements that they're going to add to this, I do think that is a very good thing. I hope by visual clutter, they mean visual recoil, weapon smoke, bob and sway, and everything that made Warzone 2 horrendous. Then they went on to say it's being developed on dev kits for the next Xbox. Last but not least, which I think this is what everybody is here for, they said no Warzone 3 if Verdansk fails to retain current/returning players. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that sounds absolutely insane. There's a couple ways that you can look at this. It is a little bit vague, but from the outside looking in, this makes it sound like Warzone is over if Verdansk doesn't save it. And everybody on the internet's always saying Warzone is over, Warzone is done, but there's never been any actual evidence that Warzone was actually dying. In every single YouTube comment or Twitter comments, you'll see Warzone is dying. But everybody always thought that people were just complaining. Now, this could be a very real possibility. Hope said no Warzone 3 if Verdansk fails to retain current returning players. So my mind goes to two separate things. One, like I said before, no more Warzone completely. But then my mind goes another direction. When they say no Warzone 3, does that mean no more new Warzone? Because if that's the case, then yes, that is what they need to do. They need to not make a new Warzone every 3 years. Podcaster Enigma said this: everyone's reading that first point differently to me, I swear. I'm seeing that as, we'll just keep building on the old one. Am I just coping here, or isn't that exactly what we asked for? Well, exactly would be a total standalone, but you know. So this is also where my head went, because as we all know, the introduction of Warzone 2 really did kill this game. And if they just stayed on Warzone 1 and built off of that, the game would be in a much better state than what it is right now. I'm sure 95% of y'all watching this agree with me on that statement. So when Hope says no Warzone 3, I really wish we had clarification on what exactly he means by this. Now remember, this is just a rumor/leak, so this could all be not true. The current Warzone has its issues, and I do think it's not in the greatest state. But if you were to tell me that if Verdansk doesn't succeed, Warzone will stop being supported as a whole, I would say you're absolutely insane. At least from the outside looking in, we know that there's millions of console players playing every single day, buying skins. I would think that Warzone makes more money than multiplayer. But if this is true, then that's not the case. I'm actually curious to see if any of this is somewhat true. Could it mean that Warzone is going to stay on one engine and build off of that? Or could we get something completely new like Blackout 2? But I personally don't think that Call of Duty will ever just completely give up on Warzone. Maybe they introduce something like DMZ 2.0. I personally hated DMZ, but hey, maybe that had insane player counts, you never know. T-Dog Smitty even said this: Blackout 2, it's time. Warzone has been in decline for 4 years now. And just so y'all know, anytime T-Dog tweets, he's always trolling, but hey, maybe we do get a Blackout 2. I was just streaming and people came into my chat and said, is that actually true? Because yes, as much as people love to complain about Warzone, this is a game that a lot of people love and have great memories on. Even the homie Lucky Chamu tweeted out, no Warzone support? ? Holy. I really do hope that this means that they're going to separate Warzone and multiplayer once and for all. Maybe this is wishful thinking, but these two things need to be their own separate entities. We hear it all the time. Warzone ruined multiplayer and multiplayer ruined Warzone. But in reality, they just ruined each other. They cannibalized each other. Changes in multiplayer sometimes don't make sense in Warzone, and changes in Warzone sometimes don't make sense in multiplayer. But because Activision is so dead set on making the game one-to-one, there's so much clashing and interfering. If this means that they can finally separate the two and make them their own separate thing, I really do think Warzone has a chance of succeeding.